Red flag. She went in, looked in the cell, there was no mess. So she immediately went out and started searching the cart. And she found it. Now, they didn't know who put it there, and there was 3 hallway workers out there, me and 2 other guys. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Locked Up 365. Today, I'm going to be going over jail lockdowns. I'm going to explain why maybe a whole dorm or pod goes into a lockdown, and why just you yourself might get locked down. The first thing we're going to be talking about is the most common, and it's just commissary or medical. Anytime somebody comes into the pod or cell, you get locked down. They put you in your rack, so I guess so something don't pop off why these people are in the dorm. And like when you're getting your commissary, they don't want a lot of people up. They don't want nobody up moving around while they're doing this. Usually they'll rack you up and make you just sit there while they call people's name until it's over. Now, medical, they'll usually, depending on where you're at, sometimes they'll let you just go on your merry way doing what you're doing while the people just line up for medical. It just depends on how the jail's set up. Like if they have a medical window that the employee will just go behind, open up a window, and they can sit at the window and distribute the meds. And in that case, everybody's free to move around. But if they have to come into the cell or dorm, you're getting locked down. And the next thing we're going to be talking about, usually if it's a normal day and they make you rack up, and it's not a commissary day, it's not time for medical, nothing like that, 9 times out of 10, you're going to get searched. They will rack you up, come in, and they will street by street, they will throw all your stuff out and get all the contraband. And when I say contraband, I'm not meaning like shanks or anything like that, just they think you having a Ziploc baggie is contraband. An empty pop bottle that you might be using for water, that is contraband. If you're in a camp and you have over $40, they can confiscate whatever you have over $40. So if you have $200, they just made $160. They're supposed to put it on your books, but they don't. A lot of the COs will just pocket it and go on their way. But some of them will just let it slide and leave your money there. I've literally seen these COs where people had got books from their library. They would just take and throw all the books in a pile, and they're just destroying these books. Now the next thing, say if somebody that just came in, they need to go to the hospital. They will lock the whole jail down over one person going to the hospital. Even though you're in a cell locked up already, they will lock the whole jail down over an ambulance coming in and picking up one person. That's just standard procedure for the jail. I've seen all of them do it, and it really confuses the inmates because they're like, what's going on? We're going to get searched, and just a lot of crazy things go through your head. But then come to find out, you hear that, somebody needed to go to the hospital. Another reason that they might rack you up is, say if there's a fight in another dorm, usually the correctional officer will call, like, I don't know the codes, but just say code red. He'll yell code red, and that means there's a fight. So every correctional officer in the other dorms, they will run out, and they will literally just yell rack up, and they will take off running to that dorm to assist that other CO. And then they will come back once they have the inmates detained who are fighting. Then they'll just come back and be like, okay, you're good. Now, say if you're in like a 10-man pod and the guards usually just walk by and look through the glass at you. They usually only do that about once an hour. So you have a lot of freedom in a 10-man pod versus in a 70-man dorm where you got a CO with you at all times. A way that you can get yourself and your whole 10-man pod in trouble is if you come across some tobacco and you all are smoking, and the guard just happened to walk by and smells it coming out of the bean flap. Most people are smart enough to wait for him to do his rounds, because they'll walk by and most of them scan, or they have to do just a wellness check, make sure everybody's still alive, which they just look in and walk on. But if you wait for them to do that, you have an hour before they come back. Most of the time. Sometime they'll come down to get somebody for a lawyer or something like that, and then you might be screwed if they smell it. Now, if they smell it, they're going to pull everybody out of the 10-man pod and line you up on the wall and rip your whole 10-man cell apart. Now, most people, as soon as the CO is trying to come in, because there's usually 2 doors that they got to come through to get to you. So most people would flush whatever they have, get rid of the evidence. So by that time, they don't find anything. But just by them smelling the smoke, they're going to light you up for 3 days. Now, that consists of the lights staying on 24/7 for 3 days straight. And you don't get no hot pot, and you don't get no TV. Don't seem like it's a big deal until it's gone. Like me, I never hardly ever watched TV. But when that TV was gone, man, it was the worst. It's just that background noise of something going on. And also the hot pot, a lot of people, almost everybody in jail, drink coffee. So without that hot pot, nobody's drinking coffee. You're not blowing up no ramen noodles, not no hot ones anyway. Some people still try to get warm water out of the sink and stuff like that, and it just don't really work that well. There was one time I was in this, it was a 70-man pod, and the commissary people came in, and where they were standing, there was bunks right by there. And this dude literally slid over and grabbed a whole 6-pack of Mr. Pibb. I remember the drink and all. A whole 6-pack of it out of her box without this woman even knowing it. And she gets to the next dorm, and it was like an hour later. The dude done sold all the Mr. Pibb other than one that he drank. Most people were smart. They threw them all in the garbage. But there was one guy that took the Mr. Pibb and put it, we had a washer and dryer in there so we could do our own clothes. And we could only do it on certain days, like twice a week. But he took that Mr. Pibb and hid it inside the washer or something. And when they came back in, because she went to give the other pod their commissary, she was missing 6 Mr. Pibbs. And she knew that she had it because she accounts for all that stuff before she goes in. So she knew that somebody in our cell took it. They came in and they ripped that whole place apart. And right at the very end, they found that last Mr. Pibb. They did find other drinks in the garbage, but they couldn't prove nothing until they found that Mr. Pibb. And wouldn't you know it, nobody in our dorm got a Mr. Pibb on commissary. So they took our commissary for 2 weeks, and they had to come up with 6 pops. Now, they were wanting Mr. Pibbs, but nobody in the dorm had Mr. Pibbs, so what were we supposed to do? But the guys did band together, and they were like, hey, ask him if we can give the guy 4 Cokes and 2 Mountain Dews, and the guy was like, yeah, that's cool as long as I get 6 drinks. So other people, not even the people that stole it or the people that bought it, people that had nothing to do with it, they just didn't want the TV taken and stuff like that. Okay, now we're going to move on to you as a single person, things you can get locked down for. When I was a hallway worker, I would pass tobacco regularly. Every day, all day long, I was hustling, selling redip, buying cigarettes, and I went to give some redip to a pod of all females. I wasn't making no money on it. I was like, I'll throw it on your cleaning cart and you can get it tomorrow night. Now, instead of these girls just waiting till tomorrow night, they started acting a fool, yelling at the guard saying, hey, we got a mess in here, we need the cleaning cart again. So the guard, red flag, she went in, looked in the cell, there was no mess. So she immediately went out and started searching the cart. And she found it. Now, they didn't know who put it there, and there was 3 hallway workers out there, me and 2 other guys. They put all of us in different rooms, and they packed up all of our stuff. They wasn't playing around. I didn't think that they would lock all 3 of us down for one little bitty roll-up of redip, but they were going to. They put us all in the hole, and once I realized that they were serious, that they were going to lock all of us down, I told them, hey, I did it. You can let these 2 go back to work. And I stayed in a hole for a week, and then I got to go back to population after a week. So it wasn't that bad, but that is one reason if you get caught with any kind of tobacco on you, you will go straight to the hole. Now, a lot of the jails, like if you were to get caught with any kind of drugs, you're going to go to the hole. If they find stuff on your person, you're screwed. I've also seen people get locked down for lining up twice for dinner. If you get caught with any kind of like a lighter or anything like that, you're going to the hole. If you're in a cell where weekenders come in, and say if you even get on the phone and you tell like your mom or your girlfriend, hey, can you call this number for me and drop off a log of dip, they will come straight in and lock you down. You don't think they're really listening to every phone call going on in that jail? I've seen so many people in the Class D get locked down over them trying to get their people to drop off cigarettes and dip. Now, if you're in the Class D, they randomly drug test you like once every couple months or maybe once a month. I've seen dozens of people get locked down all at one time over failing a drug test. And the amount of time that you stay in the hole really depends on how you act when you go to the hole and what you go to the hole for. So I might get into a fight with somebody, but if I act a fool, they might keep me in there for a week or 2. But if you get into a fight and you're cool, calm, and collective, and you do what you're supposed to do, they might let you back out in like 3 days. So it just all depends on, your actions, what you did, and how you act after you did it. That's all I have on jail lockdowns. I hope everybody got at least one thing out of this video. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and do that now. I'll keep you updated on all things jail related. If y'all would like to follow me on Instagram, Facebook, or become a member of my Patreon, I'm going to leave the link in the description below. Thanks for watching Locked Up 365.